as of 2 weeks ago, we didn't even celebrate this. Have a second top 1% podcast being this very show.
This very show.
This very show, The Ether. It is our second top 1%
Our
podcast.
second show to crack the top 1% of shows.
Technically, it's been longer than that, but since the rebrand, we've put out 20. This is the 24th episode.
You know what I think? I think we should start a third show.
I hate this idea already. Go ahead.
So that we can claim dynasty. That we crack the top 1% with yet a third show and then say to people, you thought the first one, maybe it was dumb luck. I understand. Taking this all in, it might have been dumb luck. Second time, lightning doesn't strike twice, but even a broken clock is wrong. It's correct twice a day. So maybe. But third time, come on now. We're doing something over here.
Yeah, I had someone tell me recently that we should consolidate both of the shows. So this one, The Ether, and Harmonious at Lunch. And I was like, boy, we worked too hard to be in the top 1% twice. You want me to just give that up?
Give it up, consolidate it. You got a beautiful place down the shore, and you got a beautiful place in the mountains. Why don't we just airlift one of those on top of the other one? And then you see why that's better? I don't see why that's better. So, heard, not taken.
You have a wife and 6 girlfriends. You should just make them all live together, and that would be better. No, that's a dumb idea.
My families can never meet each other. This family would hate their Canadian accent. They would hate.
Enough of this. Let's do this thing. Welcome back to The Ether, the show that disrupts the way you think about running your business. Join me, Brandon, and my co-host, Sean Delaney, the creator of What If, on today's episode. Our goal is to provide context around what we talk about so you have the clarity to cut through the noise and the confidence to grow and run a truly harmonious business. Let's jump in and take the next step to achieving business freedom. Welcome, the one and only Sean Delaney. Such a pleasure to have you here. That intro makes you sound amazing.
We're changing the tone of the show now that we're in the. Now, Brandon, our rough around the edges nature is what helped us crack the top 1%. Now that you're here, you're putting on airs. You think we need to be polite to each other? And
it's all a veil. It's just so people think that I am qualified to host this podcast. But you know what? We got here.
You're qualified. You're qualified.
More than qualified. No, I'm excited. We're talking about leadership. We're going to talk about how to lead like they're watching. Who is watching? Because I've heard that phrase and people seem to think the government is watching us. Who are we talking about?
Well, there's some of that, but more than we know. Yes. Who's watching? Everybody's watching. Everybody's watching how you lead, whether they work for you or not. Because we talk to a lot of people, Brandon, on these shows and with clients and with conferences we go to, all the places that we are in the world. We talk to a lot of business owners, and you can see the ones that show up, and while they've got a great product, while you can gussy them up and put them on stage and things are great, when you get into working with them, they're kind of a mess. And it's not, they can't blame their staff because they don't have any. I'm talking about the solopreneur who can't lead themselves. And they say, well, who am I showing off for? I don't have any employees. I don't need to be that kind of leader, lead by example. I'm just doing me and producing value. No, but we see how you show up. And if you can't lead yourself, then I don't know if I have confidence that over time you're going to be there for me. You might be able to get one project done, but in your dearth of leadership, I know that I'm going to have to lead. I just know it because I see how you manage yourself, your calendar, your energy. You canceled 2 meetings with me because I wasn't feeling it. I think the stars are misaligned or something, but I just couldn't get myself out of bed. Oh my God. And I want you to help me scale. No, let's not do that yet. Let's not do that. Yeah, because I'm just going to hire a bunch of people and hope that they're all leaders, so I don't have to do it. This is going to be disastrous. So the reason we call, Brandon, should we do this? Should we set some context early on? The reason we call leadership, we don't call it
promised to do in the intro. So yes, we must set context.
Let's set context. Context about what we talk about, something like that. I love that turn of phrase. So we don't call, what we're talking about here is leadership, but we don't call it leadership. Why? Because leadership feels like it means me of someone else, or you, the listener. When I think of myself, yourself, as a leader, you're thinking, I am leading them, someone else. And leadership might have that, the word might have that context. So we get down to the essence here, which is what we do for all of the 10 fundamental disciplines that run through a business. Leadership is really inspiration, because inspiration you can give to someone, but also can come from within for yourself. Inspiration has to start with you. As the leader, you have to be able to get out of bed, whether you have employees or not, because your clients are, your potential clients are watching, your partners are watching, your children are watching, your spouse is watching, your friends, the world is watching how you lead. It is one of the things that as a CEO or anybody of prominence in any business endeavor must bring to the table. It is part of every brand promise. The brand promise can't be Volvo, we make a hell of a safe car, but when we fucking get around to it, because we're procrastinators and I don't know, you can't count us in a production schedule. No, we wouldn't buy their cars then, because we wouldn't put up with that nonsense. Because there are certain expectations. Because this is an entertaining show at times, sometimes I'll tell you an unrelated, seemingly unrelated story, but it's very much related. I inherited an employee as I took over this department. The exiting leader said, good luck with that one. It was a bad hire. They've got very little time. Okay. So I tried to turn this person around, but it wasn't going to happen because there were certain fundamental things missing, like an ability to show up on time or to put work ahead of whatever rave schedule he was having late at night or wherever he was going with his other hours. And one day I come and he's just worse. Someone else in the department, another leader, came and said, hey, your boy's taking a little nappy over there. You might want to check on him. What is this? I go over. Oh, he's all tucked up and his jacket tucked up under his head. He's just out like a light, middle of the day, work to be done. Like, what is this? So I'm having this transpires. We won't make it more of a story than it needs to be, but I remember having the conversation with someone from HR who didn't know me when I said, that's it. Documented a million things. This is what we're doing. She was like, well, but we have a lot of bad leaders. And maybe you're one of those. No, quite sure I'm not. Quite sure I'm very clear. She goes, well, but did you ever tell him that he wasn't allowed to just sleep during the day? And I said, no, I never told him he had to wear pants either. There are certain things that are prerequisites that are just understood that you just don't do it. And so I didn't have to tell him that. I didn't tell him. I have to tell him, hey, by the way, don't show up drunk in the morning. There are certain things that are kind of just understood. Okay? So there are certain things that are just understood. You must be a leader, be able to show up. It is one of the things that is baked into your brand promise that you're offering me is you're going to have your shit together. Now, that takes care of solopreneurs who are saying, well, who am I inspiring? Well, you have to be able to inspire yourself, get up, show up, do the thing that you don't want to do. And there's lots of techniques around that. Atomic habits, eating a frog first thing in the morning, the thing that you don't want to do. There are all kinds of tricks and ways to get yourself to do the things. In the morning, I love the countdown method to waking up in the morning, where you wake up, you're like, oh, I hate this. And then it's 3, 2, 1, launch, out of bed without thinking about it. Because if you think about it, I don't want to get out of bed. But the fact that I've done that and have that win very first thing in the morning, that's inspiring to do the next thing. And then my wife has the audacity to tell me, well, you should be the one that gets up in the morning because it's so easy for you. Bullshit, it's easy for me. How dare you take away from the fact that I'm yanking myself out of this warm bed in the morning? It's dark. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. Nobody else is up. It's quiet. There's no reason for me to get up other than people are watching. My children are watching. When dad has to get up, he knows how to get up. Yes. And now you know how to get up too. So I don't know why you're not doing it. All right. There's 6. So anyway.
It's a little bit different. Let's give them a little wiggle room on the waking up at 5 a.m.
A little bit of wiggle room.
But outside of that, yes.
Remains is that inspiration starts with you as the leader being able to get yourself to do your things, to act in a way that is demonstrable of how you want others to operate, because everybody's watching. So that's what we meant by that in the title. Brandon, we have questions around this. What do we do to ascertain somebody's level of leadership? Because have you ever met an entrepreneur or business owner, Brandon, who didn't claim the space of or title of leader?
Quite frankly, yes. But you also asked, what do we do to tell if they're a good leader?
Yeah.
We have 5 questions. We're going to go through the 5 questions, but I want to make it very clear. Sometimes we don't have to ask them. Sometimes I just have to listen to them talk for like 2 minutes.
We have 5 questions, but again, lead like people are watching. I love it. I don't love it. Hate it. I hate it. Quite the opposite. I hate it when a leader will show up and say, I guess they're not really a leader. Well, but I'm not leading right now. When I'm in front of a group, then I wear that hat. Right now, I'm just showing up like a complete asshat because we're all friends here, right? No, because there is a misalignment in the things you're saying and then what you're saying to your people. And if this is happening right now in this conversation, I guarantee it's happening all day, every day with people in your office. I said, no, I say all the right things to them. Yeah. Sure. And then your actions show up and there is a disharmonious confluence of events of the saying one thing and doing another. And it's the fastest way to lose any claim to a title of leader that you might have had. So you're right. We ask 5 questions, but we actually are asking 100 questions about leadership, because every question we're asking, baked into it, is the question of whether or not you know when to lead and in what situations you lead. And when you do lead in those situations, how do you lead? And do you have one style or many styles? Lots of layers here to unpack, but where do we start?
Yeah, so let's go through the 5 questions. I mean, there are podcasts dedicated to leadership, and this topic is not able to be unpacked in 25, 30 minutes. But we're going to give you the 5 foundational questions to see where you're at or where your organization is at as a whole, depending on how many leaders you have on your team. But yeah, let's start with number 1. So under the discipline of inspire, if you want to get your hands on these 5 questions, here you go. Go take the bad, whatif.com. But we're going to start with, are our core values infused into everything we do, and we make no decision to counter our core? So it's again a compound question, but it's about, we're back to core values. Sean, we said we're talking about inspiration. Why are we talking about core values again?
I don't understand. And yes, you don't understand. Shouldn't say that.
Yes, I do. How dare you?
Many people don't understand. Am I purposely being incendiary today? I don't know. You got me riled up before the show started. All right. No. So this first question seems to not be about leadership. Why aren't you directly asking me about leadership? Because sometimes the answer is, you have to punch around the answer to find out exactly where the answer is. And so you can tell me that you're a great leader. I could ask you that in 6 different ways. It's just like the many well-meaning people that tell you, no, I've got a sense of humor. Yes, a poor one. So everyone said, oh, no, I'm a good leader. And they answer that question in the affirmative. So this is a question to say, if it is true that you are a good leader, then I would expect that core values are a big part of how you align with other people. Well, I don't align with other people. Oh my God, let's back this straight up. We have even more problems than I thought we had. But I would expect that you are looking for some kind of core value alignment with anybody that you are dealing with, whether they are a partner, a vendor, an employee, a customer, anybody that you're dealing with. I would expect you to see them through, at least at some point, the lens of core values, and that then you would infuse that into your business. Because it's one thing of saying, well, I have my core values straight and I 100% adhere to them. Great. And are they throughout your business? Oh no, that's a mess. My core values that I have are kind of personal to me, and I don't extrapolate them to my business because it wouldn't fit with all of the employees that I have. 100%. 100% it wouldn't. And guess what? You can't actually leave your core values at the door. So you might say, well, we have one set of core values here because they are an amalgamation. I asked all my employees to come up with them, and they wrote 27 beautiful core values for us. And in the spirit of inclusion, we didn't want to tell anybody, in group think fashion, no idea is a bad idea. So they're all up on the wall. And that's just the sort of the sum of the parts. And it doesn't really align with mine, but that's okay. I'll just go along with it. No, as the leader, your core values cannot be left at the door. They will be in here. It will cause disharmony between you and your staff. And of course, getting that kind of all ingredients from the cabinet soup is going to be disgusting. There is a very small probability that you could just dump everything from your cabinet into some boiling water and make something delicious out of it. Could it happen? Sure, but probably not. And so you need to set the tone, if you haven't before. These are the core values that I have that represent the mission that I came up with for this business. And now the people who don't follow and align with that will naturally exit on their own once they realize that you, as the standard bearer for the core values, leadership, an unwavering beacon of it is for these things that we stand and in these ways that we operate. And if you do that and hold that course, you will then dictate the culture of your company. May not happen overnight, depending on how many people that you hired prior to assuming this part of the leadership mantle. But once you do and stay committed to it, all things will work out harmoniously. People will exit themselves. New people will come in and be attracted to the beacon that you have set up in the night. And this will be a beautiful, glorious thing. That is the first place. It needs to be, I understand the lens of core values, and I understand that it must be infused here into all the things in this thing that I have created.
Yeah, two very real and very present stories, actually client stories on this very thing that were difficult, but this is why we talk about it all the time. So one client last week, as of this recording, their business partners and their sisters one of the sisters had a baby. Yay, congratulations, over the weekend. While I was working with her sister, the not pregnant one, we had a very tight timeline of something that she was supposed to execute on so that they can move their business forward and capitalize on an opportunity that they have. Well, long story short, one of their core values that they believe for themselves, but also their whole organization, is along the lines of family first. So she texted me and she's like, hey, just a heads up, like I have to go help my sister. I have to watch the rest of her kids while she's going into labor. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done. I sent her a screenshot of her core values and I circled the family first. I was like, hey, good thing we planned for this. You don't even have to text me. It's your core value. The other one, less positive, is another client of ours had an employee where they were falsifying documents and sending them to their clients for payment. And they were inflating their hours. So they got paid more and the company got paid more. And they also roped in another employee that was doing this. Well, two of their core values were team focused and client first. So they didn't put the client first, and they took away from the team focused approach because they brought someone else in and started creating their own little silo. Those two people were fired immediately. because our client stuck to their core values. Hard decisions, easy filters, and easy to lead when we have them in place and we live by them and we infuse them into everything we do. So two real-time examples of how that
now
works.
everyone there knows that the core values actually mean something.
Yep.
Because they just saw other people get fired for violating them, which is what they should be fired for doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, well, we can't account for everything. We didn't have a rule in the HR manual that we never strictly prohibited overbilling and essentially stealing. You never said that. I never told you to wear pants either. But there was
my new favorite response.
And we made them core values, and that we mean what we say around them, and so bye. Right? So good, beautiful.
Love it. Question 2: do we delegate well and empower others to act?
And so, a key component of being a leader. Now, if you say, "Well, take it back to the solopreneur," I can't delegate to anybody because it's just me. So, haha, I got you there. I thought
but you can still. I always push back when people say that because you can still hire a VA. You can hire a third-party company. Like there is still delegation possible, even when you're a solopreneur. So if you thought that in your head, shame on you. But yes, Sean, keep going.
It's also possible to, well, another way you could think about it is you're delegating to future Sean. So I'm looking at the 10 things I have to do today, and 2 of them shouldn't even be there for this week, but I'm holding mental space for it, and it's a problem. So I'm delegating it to future me. There's now a reminder on the calendar. I put the file in a place that is tied to that reminder. So when it comes up, I can quickly click there and go to it and work on it later. Now it's 100% out of my head. I delegated it to tomorrow, Sean. Tomorrow, Sean gets a lot of stuff when today, Sean has too many things to do. That is another way. If you want to think about and get in the space of proper delegation, is you need to triage things in order to be able to delegate. We have a whole model for that we work with our clients on, so to build that golden line to know what they must do and then what must be delegated. But that's a time management thing. Not that there's any such thing. But the delegation is you need to be able to know how to do it effectively. And then what was the second part of the sentence? It was delegate and then, and empower them to do it.
Empower others to act.
There is an empowerment side as well. So you could say, well, I keep giving it to Brandon to do. You're like, yeah, but you didn't give me access to any of the accounts. You keep changing the passwords on me. You didn't fully give me all the instructions I needed. You didn't give me the history, which that I need context in order to understand that you didn't do any of that. Yeah, but I told you you're empowered to do it. Now, you just mean you're going to hold me accountable afterwards that it didn't get done. That's not the same as empowering me to do it. And so empowering you to do it is giving you all the tools, resources, and mandate from on high that you have the authority to go and see this to its resolution. That's delegating and empowering. Empowerment has to be there. Otherwise, it's really just holding people unfairly to the result that you didn't set them up to succeed.
Yeah, I think,
and that works internally too. Am I empowering myself to do a thing, or am I hemming and hawing? Am I asking my wife, well, what do you think about it? Kids, what do you think? Oh, I'm going to look at a star chart and I'm going to roll some die and I'm going to flip a coin. That's what's really ultimately making the decision. You have to empower yourself to make the decision by giving yourself space that if you screw it up and make the wrong one, it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we touched on this a little bit when we talked about home, or AKA HR, for those of you who have not heard the episode yet. But a lot of people talk about delegation, especially when we talk about leadership and being a business owner, right? And they say, just delegate it. But we're delegating tasks, not necessarily decision-making and authority.
Yes.
Effective delegation is giving somebody the power to see something through from start to finish and get the result, not just finish a task. Because if I were to say, Sean, can you write us a 5-week email campaign to convert more clients? You're going to come back to me every 3 minutes and say, what should I do about the subject line? How should I start this paragraph? What's the call to action at the end of the email? Like, I haven't empowered you to get a result. I've just said, go do a thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a much more complex, it's a short question, but it's a very complex question when you think about how you're doing it in your company.
Amen.
Okay, Sean, pause. We've talked for many minutes. We need to shut our faces up. We need to break this up into 2 episodes. This is a lot of leadership, a lot of inspiration. Let's pause here. Are we cool with pausing? And we'll see people in next week.
Let's do it.
Week 2, part 2. See you there.